All right, now we live. Ooh, man, that was a struggle. All right, welcome back to another Canes on the Daily, another episode. All right, we are a few days away before the Miami Hurricanes kicked off their season against Miami of Ohio. But we going to dive into it and see how the Canes could start the season off fast in a hurry. But you know what we got to do, kick in that intro.
Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. These squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our petty greens deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming. Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. These squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our petty greens deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming. Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. These squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our petty greens deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming. Let's give it up to the youth. Loyal to the squad if we win or we lose. It is in our veins that orange and the green running through and through. Cause you know we want it. These squad versus ours, now they don't really want it. Our petty greens deep with pros in abundance. Get ready for the storm cause the hurricane's coming.
All right, good. We back. So, Donnie, season is here. We've been waiting. We were waiting for news all season. Um, we've been hearing a lot of different things with Tyler Van Dyke last couple of days per Kane Sport about his supposedly injury to his ring finger. They said it was a thumb, but it was a ring. So, how you feel about the season? What you looking for come Friday?
Well, I'll say just come Friday. Just basically more consistency and discipline. Looking for attack mode also.
Mm-hmm. All right, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Hold on, bro.
Hey, Martin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Give me 1 second. Hey, can you hear me now?
Got you loud and clear.
All right, so I just switched to my phone because my laptop is like lagging and it's not doing what I wanted to do. So we're gonna just I'm gonna switch over to my phone real quick. But anyway, go ahead and explain to you explain about what you're looking for in Friday night's game. I know you say you want consistency and for them to start fast.
Yeah, basically consistency, start fast. I also want to see like what this Miami team can do that's different from the Miami teams of the past, man. Like come out, start fast, offensively, defensively, dominate on all three facets of the game. Pretty much put the game away by halftime to where it's like we can get the young guys some field action
Mm-hmm.
because as the season wears on, we're gonna need them.
Oh yeah.
Um, so basically, we got to take like the workman's approach. Like, yo, if you got 4 hours of work and you can get it done in 2 hours, you need to get it done in 2 hours. And basically, I want to see how the players respond to the new offensive scheme, the defensive scheme, and basically, I want to see just discipline, no penalties, uh, make the tackle when it's there, no holding, no offsides, none of the stupid stuff that really just like killed us and killed drives.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, to see Tyler Van Dyke come out there like the perfect executioner, cut their head off real early, and then we can see some of our young guys get some playing time.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I'm more concerned about right now is how well is Tyler Hand. That's and if it's on his, you know, it's is his ring finger, and then the thing about it, the another thing about it is how well can he throw. Now, Kane Sport came out with that report the day before, but then they try to clean it up the next day, saying that oh well he's 100% healthy even though Mario don't have confidence in him. Now, I think that to what you said, if Miami could come out, play fast, put up a lot of points, and get Tyler Van Dyke out the game early, even I mean, if they go up like 30 something, probably say 30 something to 10 by halftime, They ain't no use to play Tyler in the second half. Let the other guys get plays because then you already see what you can because you definitely gonna want Tyler to be 100% healthy going into that Texas A&M game the following week.
And I agree with that totally. And what you also have to do, in my honest opinion, is Miami needs to go back to their old ways of always preparing for the next opponent. And what I mean by that is like the Jimmy Johnsons, the Dennis Ericksons, the Howard Snellenbergers. It was
Mm-hmm.
basically like when the second team came in, it was like you still run the same plays as the first team. We just run them out of different formation because basically we're going to run these plays next week and we need to see how they stack up. So basically, I want to see us go back to that old school mentality of where, like, if you're on the field, you're playing at your ultimate. I mean, your absolute best.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. I want to see what this offense look like under Shannon Dawson. I want to see what the defense look like under Lance Gitry. I just want to see a whole total. I've been getting. I trust me. I work with a Clemson guy. He's talking. A lot of people like, oh well, Miami's not going to this many games. They're not gonna do this. They're not gonna do that. I was like, well, y'all don't know. I mean, because y'all in the same boat we are. And I just think, I was listening to people talk about Clemson. I just don't think Clemson's strong. I think Clemson will lose 3 games this year. Um, I do hope that when we do play Clemson in October, where we could be rolling, where we look completely different. You know, because Clemson, Florida State get all the talk in the conference right now, and rightfully so. I'm not even mad about it. But I think going into this, for what Miami looked like last year, a lot of people don't have a lot of confidence in Miami. But I said this to say that is that they are going to be surprised because Miami is going to be a completely different team. They have went out and added pieces around. Now, if there's question marks around Miami, sure, every team has question marks. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I think that Miami also is preparing itself to be a complete different team than they have been in the past. So that's what I'm looking forward mostly, more so than anything, is that how Miami comes out, execute, not taking these teams for granted. Because you remember last year, Donnie, we was getting our head knocked off of these teams that came in and ran all over us, threw all over us, and did everything they wanted to do at the same time. And then we could never get our footing. But I think this year is going to be different. I think they going to make a statement Friday night against Miami, Ohio. Speaking of Miami, Ohio, everybody got to have some kind of talking point, some kind of bulletin board material just to be talking because they say, oh, well, we the real Miami. I mean, we're nobody have heard of y'all in the last few years. So all of a sudden say y'all the real Miami, that's kind of absurd to say. But nevertheless, the guys on the Hurricanes is they got that written down, and I believe Lance Gitry is going to let that defense loose against Miami, Ohio on Friday night.
And I believe so too. I mean, Guidry was a part of Miami, Ohio. He coached there. Not sure how long, but I do know for a fact he did. Um, I do believe he is going to show real quick that even with a vanilla defense, excuse me, with a vanilla defense that we should be able to with our talent level, which
Mm-hmm.
is just absolutely just, I mean, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Like for example, like Georgia's playing Middle Tennessee. Georgia is not gonna just like they're not gonna keep the pedal to the metal the whole game.
Yeah.
They're basically rotate guys in, rotate guys out. And I don't think any of these big time games you'll see like the starters play after the first half. And that's what Miami has to get back to. Now I know Lance will
Mm-hmm.
probably, of course, put the pedal to the metal quickly just to get them guys off the field, so he can really see, so we can really see what we have, you know, on the second string, on the third string, and even on the fourth string, if we're
Yeah.
for if. Um, I also think there will be a couple plays in this game where Miami will show flashes, but I don't think Miami will show a lot just because Texas A&M is next on the schedule.
Hmm.
So I do not expect under any circumstance this offense or defense to look the same as the Texas A&M game. I really don't expect that.
Yeah. I agree with that because you know I, the one thing that I guess I'm kind of like worried about is like I don't want Miami to come out and struggle against Miami, Ohio, and then the game goes long, and then you have to put more offense emphasis in just trying to put a team away. And just like you said, Miami have to come out and start fast. They got to get back to where how they used to do in college, put up about 50, 60 points in the first half and then cruise in the second half, let the young guys get a burn because that's how you develop your team in per se because that's how he's doing it for the last 20, 15 years. That's how you develop your team. That's how the likes of Alabama and Georgia and all of them does. They go out there and yeah, they might have some teams that are gonna give them a little challenge here and there, but the teams that you should be putting your foot on their necks, them the teams that you need to do, and then allow your future quarterbacks to come in there, allow your tight ends, allow your wide receivers, your defensive unit, some other guys to get some plays. So when you need to call upon them, especially when they get down to like you playing a tough team, say like you playing a Florida State, you could utilize them guys because they got experience and you see what they could do in the game, and then you can mix up more schemes and coverage, more offensive plays on the other side of the ball where teams ain't not going to be expected. Expected. So yeah, definitely. That's what I feel like Miami really needs to do. I think they had a pretty good spring training. I didn't catch much, but I caught as enough as I can. I think they have done well. They still out there recruiting. They still trying to get guys in. Have they missed on some? Yeah, they missed on some. But at the same time, I think this team has enough to me for this season to win 9 or 10 games. I feel like if you lose a game, then if you lose a game, you lose against North Clemson. I don't. I guess it's just me, the bias in me, because it's my team and I just want them to do well. But I do believe this team is going to be well approved from the team. They actually on paper they already are more approved they was last year than they are. This year than they are last year. And so do you where I know we talked about it in some of the last screens we had, but now since the season here, we can dive in a little bit more. Do you feel like if we beat Texas A&M next week? Next week. We don't have another hard game until I think Clemson. We play Clemson the next hard game, and if Miami was to rack up wins all the way down there, um, how do you what do you feel our chances, especially if they handling business, not playing around and just going out there and taking care of business like they should. How do you feel they should stack up against Clemson? Depends on how Clemson play.
That's a good question, and I'm gonna be real with you. I only see two hard games on Miami's schedule because let's be honest, that Texas A&M game last year, we were a couple of plays from magooing our way to a win. We actually almost accidentally won that game.
Yeah, we should
Uh,
have won that game.
yeah, Texas A&M couldn't put us away. Now moving on to Clemson, I will say this: Clemson, I was at the game. They tried their absolute best to blow us out, and they just could not get it done. It was basically, I'm not taking anything away from Clemson. They won the game, but that was not a knockout. That was a TKO. Um, Now Miami, however, does have trap games, and I want to address those really quick.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the trap games: NC State, Louisville, and of
Mm-hmm.
course, always the pesky Georgia Tech and North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, those are trap games, and the thing is we cannot allow ourselves to be a roller coaster team. We have to be straightened out. We have to be the train that just mows through. You
Yeah.
win one, lose one, you don't get up, you don't get down, you stay even, and you keep going, and you believe in the system. Because the thing is, I'm really not concerned about the Clemson game as much as I am, say, the NC State, Louisville, North Carolina State game.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
And
those are the trap games.
looking at the schedule right now, we got Georgia Tech October the 7th, North Carolina October the 14th, which I'm most likely will go to that game. And then we got Clemson the 21st, and then Virginia. So if Miami goes, like you said, that Georgia Tech always find some way to play us a little bit tough, and then North Carolina. That game right there. I really want us to win that game because North Carolina been having our number for the last few seasons, and I do not want to lose to them. Especially, I want them to shut Drake May face up. Also, because we do got Sam Howell for my commander, so I'm happy about that. But I'm glad he's not playing against us no more because he killed us up as well. So, from the looks of things, say Miami goes 4-0 the first 4 games of the season, then Georgia Tech 5-0. Then they be undefeated when they play North Carolina. If they get through North Carolina in that game, I'm saying they don't have to be a blowout, but a close game and they win. Then they got Clemson at home. That's gonna be the game. That means Miami has a potential to walk into that game undefeated. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games, 6-0. Depends on and then depends where Clemson at record rise. That game right there could be a prime time game because Clemson could be undefeated. Miami could be undefeated. That's gonna show Miami's true test where they really stack up. Win or lose that game, if they lose that game by 3 points or 10 points, I'm good. As long as they know that now they have something to continue to build on. Say Clemson be that one loss for us. If we get past Virginia, because Virginia could be tough too. NC State, yeah, they could be tough. And definitely Florida State.
Now,
That's another game. That's
now
another game.
Florida State, and let me just pause right here and call a quick timeout, brother.
Okay.
Florida State is the mental toughness game. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where we really lose our edge with the mental toughness game. So
Mm-hmm.
we can tell by game 4 if we have the mental toughness edge. If we're doing little silly stuff like, okay, receiver beats you on a route, we get a targeting call or we get a pass interference. If we start getting unnecessary penalties, that's a
Mm-hmm.
game we will lose. And I purposely didn't include Florida State on that list just for that reason because I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
give them this year because you said it and I agree. They are more improved.
Mm-hmm. And see, the thing about Florida State is that they stability at quarterback. Not that we don't, but Tyler has been hurt, and we haven't had a real good 2 seasons of continuity of great offense. So it's like we went into last year with a new offensive coordinator. We're coming into this year with another new offensive coordinator. Tyler has to go from um, Rick Lashley to Gaddis, now Shannon Dawson. So that's 3 offensive systems he's been in for the last 3 years. So we haven't really had that stability as Florida State's quarterback. So that's the one thing that Florida State has over us that we don't have. And I think, um, like you, I agree with you 100%. The mental toughness has to come. It has to come early in the season, especially when you start your season off with Miami, Ohio. You got to make sure you eliminate penalties, no dumb defensive penalties, no bonehead false starts and all of this stuff. You got to eliminate all of that early, and then you go into the next week playing a tougher team. Not saying that Texas A&M because they ain't no slouch because they we played them tough last year, but you got to go back to the drawing board and do it all over again. And if you could show some form of mental toughness all the way down your schedule, then it'll help you. Then you'll see where you, like you say, you can see where you at as a team. Because the thing about it is, for the last, Miami has not had the greatest of being disciplined in the last two seasons. They made some really bad stuff. And not only that, the defensive coordinator, I'm glad he's not there, but he put Miami in some bad situations last year where some of the guys that he put in the defensive scheme shouldn't have been in that defensive scheme the way he schemed it up. Especially getting thrown on, run on. And speaking of running, that is the one part of the defensive game that I want to see improved. The run defense. I want to see that improve so bad because I don't like to get run on. I'd rather somebody try to pass through the air and we get good pass defense, but I can't stand to get run on. I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I hate when teams gash us. I hate to see quarterbacks run against us and everything like that. I want us to start eliminate that, start shutting these guys down, start knocking them on their butts and making them think twice, make them stay in the pocket where our defense and our defensive front and our linebackers can get after them. Because if you shut down running, then you force teams to throw more than they really want to throw in the game. And that's what teams did to us last year. They shut our running down and forced us to throw. And we had minimal success of throwing. And we can't be that either because defenses really will try to take what we have away from us. So what are with, I know we mentioned Shannon Dawson. How good you think Tyler Van Dyke is going to be able to operate? Because I have heard that Emory Williams actually excelled in Dawson's offense during the offseason and in spring training. I think, and he outpaced it, Ja'Cory Brown. So where do you see out of all three quarterbacks, you rank them 1, 2, and 3 for me?
Oh, okay, good question. All right, so let me revisit something you said earlier. Um, the thing is Miami has to one not be in a situation where they have to pass the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing is we will see a little bit out of the offensive line Friday. Now, if we can run the ball, and I mean, Miami of Ohio, no disrespect to them, they are bringing back a lot of starters. But if we can dominate that offensive line and we can dominate in the trenches, we determine the speed of the game. And what I mean by that is we're not forced into passing downs. So if
Mm-hmm.
we get up early, then you can see Mr. Brown do what he does best, take off and run. Then you got to defend the whole field. And it's like at that point, you don't have the option to put your second string in because he can take off and run on you. Now,
Mm-hmm.
with Mr. Williams, the thing is he's a pocket passer. The thing is if you're up by 21, let's just say for example, you're not gonna blitz. But most teams have figured out the easy way to beat Miami is just get them down, get them behind. They will have to throw to come back. They're not going to run the ball. But as long as we can
Mm-hmm.
use the run as a weapon, I would rank the quarterbacks like this: one, Tyler Van Dyke;
Mm-hmm.
two, Mr. Brown; three, Mr. Williams.
Hmm.
And I will tell you that it will change week to week and game by game, by team,
Yeah.
because I will say by the Clemson game that it will be a deadlock tie between Mr. Brown and Mr. Williams as to where you
Mm-hmm.
can bring either one in and it's going to be a problem as long as we have the lead and the defense is applying pressure.
I do. I'm gonna throw another question to you too. Tyler Van Dyke. Granted, I'm a huge Tyler Van Dyke fan. I love him to death. Health wise, how healthy do you think Tyler Van Dyke is going to last through this season before we go to Brown or Williams? Because that's going to be the key right there. Tyler Van Dyke staying healthy.
Well, I got to be honest with this answer because I have done a lot of research on Dawson. I know Dawson does not stick with one quarterback wholly through the season because he throws different looks.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like even if something does happen to Tyler, he will develop our quarterbacks to be a weapon as long as the offensive line is strong enough to hold their blocks.
Mm-hmm.
If they can create the pocket and give them time to throw the ball, it will not be an issue.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if they're running for their life, then a good quarterback can look bad under pressure.
Yeah.
And we've all seen it. It doesn't matter if it's at the pro level, college level, or high school level. A good quarterback can look bad under pressure. As long as they got time to go through their progressions. And the thing is like the two quarterbacks behind Tyler Van Dyke, you do not want them to go through their progressions. Because, like, I'll give you an example. Mr. Brown can beat you with his athleticism. You
Mm-hmm.
do not want him running open and a
Yeah.
linebacker chasing after him. Mr. Williams is, and look, I'm going to say this and I'm going to go on record as saying this. You don't want him to pull a Patrick Mahomes type stunt where he
Mm-hmm.
throws across his body to a wide open receiver because you gave him more than 3 seconds in the pocket.
Yeah.
So, what I'm saying is, it all starts up front. If Miami can keep the quarterbacks upright and their jerseys are clean, that's going to be an impactful season. Also, the second part and the flip side of that coin is if the defensive linemen can create enough pressure for our linebackers to create havoc because we have linebackers that can create havoc and chaos. And we know what our secondary is built like.
Mm-hmm.
You got 3 seconds. You got 3 seconds, and you just better guess where you want to throw the ball. So basically, that's where it starts up front. So again, Mr. Van Dyke won, Mr. Brown second, Mr. Williams third. But I tell you, by the time we get to the Clemson game, we will see some excellent plays from both of those quarterbacks to where it's like they are both number two.
Mm-hmm. I
And it
think.
doesn't matter if
Okay.
Tyler goes down at that point. If Tyler
Yeah.
goes down, we're still going to be like, you know what? I got a package for this guy, and I trust my offensive coordinator. And I have not said this in a long time, but I trust my offensive coordinator enough to game plan to where like the defense knows, like with Tyler, he is really not a running threat, but he can run the ball.
Yeah.
But we do have quarterbacks behind him that can run the ball and that can throw the ball on a dime.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Mr. Brown, his accuracy we need to work on, but at the same time, with the speed of receivers we got and his cannon, it really doesn't matter because of his athleticism.
Mm-hmm.
Just give him some time. So
Yeah.
all I'm saying is basically we got to keep our quarterbacks upright. As long as our quarterbacks are vertical and not horizontal, we can beat anybody in America, bro.
Yeah. So, um, with that being said, is that I think Friday night we'll get to see. I do believe all three quarterbacks will play Friday night. I think that they going. I think Miami will win the game. Um, there's no doubt in my mind they will win the game. I think it's going to be what they are 21-point favorites. I think they are. Let me double check. Yes, they are 16.5 point favorite right now. There was 21. And they actually they got this game on the ACC network, so that's pretty good. Um, but for all sense of purposes, I think that Miami definitely will win this game. And we'll get to see all three quarterbacks play. I think Williams is probably a little bit more polished. I think Ja'Cory Brown's still a little raw, but I think he's going to get better as a season because it's going to be games we're going to see all these quarterbacks play, especially in these little cupcake games that they're going to play. Tyler Van Dyke most likely start against Texas A&M. We ain't going to do too much. That's a 3:30 game afternoon. Then we got Bethune-Cookman. That's a potential we see a lot of talent play. I was still chapping. I didn't know you jumped offline on me. So also, and like I said, we got Temple. We'll see. Most likely, we'll see these quarterbacks play in Temple. Depends on how Miami handles business in the games. So it's three games that we got a chance to see some of these quarterbacks play. Before we get down to the meat of things. Especially when we get to Georgia Tech and on down the schedule. You good, bro? Donnie, can you hear me? Well, I'll just roll solo for a minute until he get back on. But anyway, the start of the college football season is among us right now, and we still dealing with realignment issues with the ACC, trying to vote in um, Cal, Stanford, and SMU. Yo, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Yo, but as I was saying, uh, Donnie, can you hear me?
Okay, can you
Yo,
hear me now?
yeah, I can hear you now. I
All
was
right,
I was
cool, cool,
hearing.
cool. Sorry about that, man. It's just a lot of rain up here. I'm losing signal, but yeah, go ahead. What was that?
Oh, well, I was talking about how Miami will have a chance to play these quarterbacks and some of their other talent, especially in the Miami Ohio game, the Bethune Cookman, and the Temple game. So that's a chance for them to get a lot of experience down the line before they start going into like the Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Clemson, all of them games down the line, because then you might not have a chance to play them guys. So getting them exposed to some of these other little games that's coming up is going to be a great experience for them, especially for Ja'Cory Brown and Williams as well. But I alluded to another question because I'm sure you've been following up on the college yo.
I got you. Go ahead. Yeah,
Okay.
I'm.
I was talking about I'm sure you've been following up on the college realignment situation with the ACC,
Of
with
course.
Cal, Stanford, and SMU. Now I know that SMU wants to get in because they want to be a Power Five team, and they're not willing to take any money. Now, a lot of people, I talked to a lot of people, and there's a lot of back and forth dealing with it because they were supposed to vote yesterday, but there was a shooting in North Carolina, so they kind of halt that. So don't know when they'll resume everything. Some people say, well, Cal and Stanford don't bring a lot of value, but I think Stanford, the money that they have and their academic prowess, it helps out. No, they might not help out in basketball, whatever the case might be, but it helps Notre Dame out. That's the way I look at it. It helps Notre Dame because Notre Dame, that's their rival. So then that's a team that they could play, they continue to play every year. Whatever. I don't see them going to the Mountain West be an option because then what they're gonna do? Be in the Mountain West for 2 years and then have to come back and try to get into another a Power Five conference? That's just dumb. I just think that Jim Phillips, he had him just like George Clearcloth over there in the Pac-12. I think they made a lot of bad decisions and started from 2 years ago when they did this alliance thing with the Big Ten. I think they should have just started realignment then and got these teams in there and try to get more money. Jim Phillips wants to be more, want the conference to be known more for a basketball conference than so football, and you can't run it like that. You just can't because the ACC is both ways. You got basketball and football, but college football is probably the second biggest sport towards the NFL. You know, basketball, yeah, people look at basketball, but it's not the same as it has been. So everybody turns to college football. He should have when the Big 12 started talking about realignment. That's when the Pac-12 and the ACC should have came together and said, you know what, let's bring our conference together. That would have freezed out the Big 12. They could have made Clemson and Florida State happy. Now, for one report I heard last week was that bringing in Cal, Stanford, and SMU for the time being because it's just going to bring them in just in case when the time comes for Clemson, Florida State to move on, or even Miami move on. At least you have three teams that could replace them. You know what I'm saying?
Of
I mean,
course.
with the grant of rights, I mean that's 2036. That's you still got what 7 years ago? I mean, what seven? What 8 years, something like that down the line before that. But Florida State is trying to force their way out. But yeah, I get Florida State is a high prestige college, but Clemson's been carrying the conference for years, winning championships and stuff. Florida State for the last couple of seasons just really getting back to be Florida State. So saying, "Oh, well, I want more money." I mean, I get it. Everybody wants more money, but at the same time, ESPN looking at you like you're not really. What have you done? Clemson. If Clemson was asking for more money, I could see that. If Clemson said, "Well, I want more money for everybody else or well for myself," then yeah, that's understandable because Clemson has made playoff appearances. They have won national championships. Miami and Florida State is trying to get back to relevancy. And I think Florida State is just going by the right way. Now, if they want to leave, by all means, leave. I mean, if Miami say, "Hey, I'll stay in the conference," then they can stay. I'm going to rock with my team regardless wherever they go. So I just think that they should have could have got Oregon and Washington along with Cal, Stanford, and probably SMU. They could have easily had them teams in there if they had really got on there um, sooner.
And I agree with that. And I will tell you this, this is my rebuttal to that. Um, basically, and look, I don't want to sound like a hater here, but we don't need the West Coast to make the Southeast any stronger.
Hmm.
Uh, like I said, the SEC is strong, and then if you look, the Southern, I'll just call it Southern Coastal Conference is already strong.
Yeah.
Bringing those teams in, yes, academia wise, yes, they are fantastic. But the travel time, and I was like, that's what people have to, factor into the equation. Like Miami playing Cal at home, and then you go into a different time zone. And I get that, but I was like, it's just certain teams that I feel like they shouldn't play each other. Like to me, I felt like, and I still feel this way, that Miami will go to the Big Ten, just simply because you will see the Ohio State matchup, you will see the Michigan matchup, because people have a lot of what if questions. Like, what
Hmm.
if in '97 Miami had a played Michigan after knocking off UCLA? You know,
Hmm.
um, the thing is like it's so many questions that could be answered. Like we already know what happens when we play Maryland, but Maryland's a lot better now. We
Yeah.
already know what happens when we play Rutgers, and Rutgers left us and went up there. So it's like, yo, we coming back for you again. So
Hmm.
the thing is like I feel like it would be a better fit for Miami to go that way versus staying in the ACC. I don't think the SEC is for, to be honest, I don't think the SEC is for Florida State or Clemson just because that the South is such a recruiting battleground. It's either
Hmm.
kill or be killed as far as getting these recruits. And I think if either one of those schools commit to the SEC, they're going to lose a lot of recruits because
Hmm.
basically they're going to be the new Vanderbilts. You're
Yeah.
going to be a homecoming game. I don't think Clemson can truly survive a tough SEC schedule. And then with the realignment that's coming with Texas and
Mm.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Alabama and Auburn will be in the East now. And I was
Hmm.
like, that's just not something you want to run up on every,
Weak.
you don't want to run up on that every day, bro. It's like,
Nah.
no. So it's like, I don't see Clemson surviving it, and I definitely don't see Florida State surviving it. I
I
mean, go ahead, bro.
to me, they just not built for the SEC.
Mm-mm.
I think they more built. To be honest with you, I could see Miami going to the Big Ten, but I definitely could see them going to the Big 12, and I definitely could see them staying where they at. My thing is this here is that I think Clemson and Florida State could survive in the Big 12 because the Big 12 is they don't play a lot of defense over there. They just don't. You know what I'm saying? Um, the Big Ten is going to be difficult too. You know what I'm saying? It's not as probably not as rugged as the SEC, but you got to think playing Ohio State, Michigan, Wisconsin, Iowa that plays everybody tough. Penn State, like you said, Maryland that has gotten better. You know, you still got Nebraska over there. You still got, I mean, it's crazy, man, because both of them conferences is strong, and I just don't see Florida State, Clemson going over there and all of a sudden they gonna try to be dominant. And like you alluded to one of the biggest things that a lot of people fail to mention is recruiting. How well you going to recruit? Yeah, the Big Ten or the SEC, yeah, they want these teams over there because they have a stronghold in the southern recruiting area. But at the same time, how is going to help that team coming over there? Because if Ohio State or say Alabama that already recruits well, or Georgia already recruits well, then you got Texas and Oklahoma that already recruits well and start recruiting in the South, then that gonna makes it even harder for a team like Miami, Clemson, and Florida State to recruit in the South because you got new teams coming over there and trying to grab that talent. And if these teams are already winning and looking good and always in the playoff, where you think these guys gonna go? So my thing is this here is sometimes the grass is not always greener on the other side. My thing is that I think they all should stay in the ACC, deal with it, see if they can get more teams over there, get a little bit more money as much as they can. Yeah, money is driven these teams to want to jump ship. I get it. But at the same time, you got to think of how successful, because you still going to get in the playoff regardless if you still stay in the ACC. You're going to get in the playoff. It's a 12, the 12 team playoff starts next year?
Yeah, that's correct. The 12-team playoff starts next year, but the
Yeah.
thing is, like, it's the prestige of the conference. And like when Miami was blessed to be like one of the elite universities like a Stanford or a Cal,
Mm-hmm.
um, I could understand why you want to bring those guys in. Um, but I will say this, and this is my point that I have to make. Regionally, it does not make sense. I
Mm-hmm.
was like, if you want to do that, you take a map of the US and you draw a line down the middle and you say, hey, everybody above this line, you're in this conference. Everybody above this line, you're in this conference. So just pick a conference and keep it regional because, like, it makes no sense to me to have these young men flying that far away to play a game,
Yeah.
going through different time zones and all of this and all of this. It's like the thing is, like, I understand it for a bowl game. You prepare, you get there early, you get time to get acclimated. But to leave on a Wednesday and have a Saturday game doesn't make sense because you're missing too much scholastically.
Mm-hmm.
That if your university is built on that, like Miami, and Miami is like one of the hardest universities to get into, it just doesn't make sense. I'm just looking at like the regional travel, and the thing is, like, of course, the SEC does not make sense
Yeah.
because the Gators would not have that.
Mm-mm.
They already said they don't want another team from Florida. So if they say that, what's to stop South Carolina from saying we don't want another South Carolina team in here? So
But the thing about it is Florida and South Carolina can say that, but Gray Sankey is the you know he's the commissioner, and if he say he wants it, then what they gonna do? Leave? I mean, that's the only thing about that. Yeah, Florida. Cause like you said, I heard Florida say the same thing, but you can't stop that because if Greg Sankey and he's close with the ESPN people over there. So if they say, well, you bring these teams in, what Florida State? I mean, what Florida gonna do? Leave? Go to another conference? Jump out? I mean, that's going to be kind of looking crazy. So, but to your point, yeah, it don't make sense for Florida State. That's why I say, to me, the most common sense make is to stay where you at. Yeah, you might not make the most money, but why not try to bring other teams in to build a conference up, even if they're not as great? Try to find a way to snatch teams from the Big 12. You know what I'm saying? Say, hey, see if you could get a team like Penn State from the Big 10 to come to the ACC that where they have rivalries with Notre Dame. Maybe you could probably get Notre Dame to be part-time in the ACC. You know what I'm saying? You could get West Virginia out of the Big 12. West Virginia been wanting to come to the ACC. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you still could poach other conferences. You don't have to be the conference that be getting poached. That's why I look at it. There's always opportunity. I mean, like I say, you could have got Oregon or Washington in. It don't make sense to fly that far because trust me, someone who knows a little bit about that flying is that flying from Georgia to Seattle, Washington, and flying from Seattle, Washington back to Georgia. Yeah, that's about a 7-hour flight, 5.5, something like that. That ain't no joke. That is not, like you said, that is not no joke. Because then you be jet lagged, and then you're gonna try to play a game after that. It's you know it'll be hard. So what? And before the Big 12 even went after what UCF, Cincinnati, Houston, the ACC could have got them. They could have got them to come over there. Those teams would have fit way better in the ACC than the Big 12.
But the thing is, I think it's all about positioning now because, like, I will tell you this, and this is just my honest thoughts on everything, and I'll make it quick. I think before it's all said and done, there will be two power conferences, and every player from every stretch of the nation is going to want to play in these two power conferences.
Mm-hmm.
I think the SEC will be one, and I think the Big Ten will be the other one. And it's basically like you have to figure out because, like, the thing is, a lot of these schools, no matter the talent and how they recruit, they are not a brand. If
Mm-hmm.
you are a brand, they want you. And then also, if you have scholastic, um, scholastic awards and you're basically academia where it's like yo if I send my child to this school they will get the best education possible.
Mm-hmm.
So Miami could really go anywhere because Miami is already a brand and the academia side has already been decided. So the
Mm-hmm.
thing is it's like you could go anywhere. Like if Miami wanted to join the Big Ten, that's possible. They want to join the Big 12, that's possible.
Mm-hmm. Well, I
But joining
know.
12, I think, will be a step down for them.
Yeah.
But I think the Big Ten, because, at this point, it will be impossible to bring Miami to the SEC without a tag along.
Yeah. Yeah. They ought to get my like. Say if you got Clemson, Florida State, and Miami, then that'll work. You bring all three of them in there. But at the same time, at the end of the day, I do know that because a lot of people say, "Oh, well, the Big Ten wants Clemson." No, they don't want Clemson. They just people just been putting that out there and say, "Oh, maybe Clemson go to the Big Ten." The Big Ten wants Miami and North Carolina. That's who they really want because now that
Exactly.
Miami is an AAU accredited, Florida State is not. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
so so that don't even make sense. So like you say, at the end of the day, it's going to shape up to be a two conference. You might end up having 24 a 24 playoff model where they do it like the NCAA, where like a round robin, everybody plays, move on till you get to the national championship. I think the Big 12 probably going to be the third team that's still holding on because they definitely has teams that that could get into the playoffs. They still gonna be a Power Five team, but they just gonna be a lesser version. But after, like you said, the only way somebody did a model 2 years ago and said they it's going to end up to be a 64 field teams in the playoff or 32. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what it's going to be at. Because you're not going to be able to leave out a Clemson, Florida State, and Miami. You're just not. Then Notre Dame going they if they keep their independency, they're gonna fit in somewhere also. And then you got the Big Ten, they teams, and you got SEC, they teams. Then you got the Big 12, got like they um still got Oklahoma State them down there, Baylor, and all of them teams divided in. So it's gonna be crazy, man. After I say in the next 5 years or so, we'll see another major change in college football with the college realignment. But until then, man, you know how we do. We back on air every Tuesday, 8 o'clock. Just today was 7 because I was off today. But at 8 o'clock every Tuesday, unless I'm off, we'll do an hour early. But we're gonna recap every Miami Hurricane game this season. The season is here. NCAA college football 2023. The new look Miami Hurricanes is ready to roll. Um, any closing remarks, Donnie?
Yes, sir. I want to bet a bottle of cold water. Final prediction on the Miami, Ohio score. We got to bet big boy money on this. Bottle of cold water, bro.
Bottle of cold water. I got you. All right,
Bottle of
bottle
cold
of cold
water, bro.
water.
I want
Um,
the final prediction. Let's see who's the closest. Let's go.
final prediction.
Yep, of the game, bro. Of the game, bro.
I
We
said
got to
40.
put some pressure out here.
I said
The
45-10.
fans want it. Let's get it.
45-10.
All right. So let's mark this down, fans. Mr. Martin says 45-10. Uh, my final prediction, I have to go a little bit different. I'm going to go 42-3.
42-3. Okay.
Yes,
I
sir.
say 40,
42-3.
42. I'm gonna write that down in my book. Donnie
Yeah,
said,
write it down. Put it in the book, sir.
yeah. All right, sure is. 40. You said 42-3.
Yeah, I say 42-3, bro.
All right, and Martin says 45-10. All right. I'm definitely gonna be locked and loaded on Friday night to see this game. So therefore, hey, definitely whoever come close gets the bottled water.
That's right. Cold bottle of water, and we'll do this for every game.
All right, bet. Every bet.
Like, like I said, at the end of the year, somebody gonna get a case of water.
Right? Oh yeah. Might be 2 cases of water. Hey, you can never have enough water. I can tell you that though.
Exactly, bro. So like I said, hey, I just wanted to get it down on paper. So hey, let's get it.
Let's get it. All right. Thank you for joining us on another episode of Kings on the Daily. Like I said, you can follow me on every social media site, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. We do this every week, 8 o'clock, Tuesday nights. Until then, go you.